stream on the city's website and by teleconference via Zoom. I would like to remind the Planning Commission to have their microphones turned on and positioned so the audience can hear. Monique, may we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Booth,
Present.
Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Commissioner Worth,
Here.
Vice Chair Beamsterfer,
Here.
Chair Lemke.
Present. For the invocation, Vice Chair Beamsterfer.
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here this evening. And Lord, I just pray that you guide us through this new year and the plannings that we make for our city. And just hope that we can improve the city and the well-being of it. And we just pray for health and well-being for everyone. And in your name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item number 4A is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of December 6, 2022. Does the commission have any corrections or changes for the minutes of December 6th? Monique?
Thank you, Chair Lemke. I do have one correction for item 6A, tentative track map. That item was continued by the commission, so the action would need to just reflect that it was a continued item.
Do I hear a motion?
I can motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of December 6, 2022 with the corrections added. I'll second.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you, with an abstention. Oh, well, I was like, oh, all right. Okay, cool. Got it. Number 5, public comment period. Agenda number 5 is the public comment period and is not for items on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda? Are there any members of the public joining via teleconference or Zoom that would like to comment? Ms. Hernandez, were there any e-comments received?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and no e-comments were received.
Thank you. Continued items. Item number 6A for zoning ordinance amendment number 22-001.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission and the public. I'm Monique Alanese Flater, Principal Planner for Zoning Code Amendment 2020-22-001, a city-initiated proposal to amend various sections of Chapter 90 zoning of the Hemet Municipal Code, including Division 2 nonconformities of Article 2, Administrative Regulations, and Article 3, Special Uses and Conditions. This item was continued from the November 15th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. As requested by the Planning Commission, staff provided a side-by-side comparison of the overall changes to the ordinance. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for staff?
I do have a couple questions for clarification, as when we spoke earlier during the week, Monique, about them. A couple of them was in reference to, in the printing, the fence. We discussed the fence on Lion Street. And I'm reading in the paperwork, it does say that if it was repair, let me see. There was a moment of saying where they want to repair or replace the wall. The situation with this particular house is most residents here all have the same fence line. The mailbox is out there as well. And this particular problem we have, and there's a lot of houses that are going to run into this problem, is a car went through a part of the fence and he simply wants to repair that fence. And he wants to repair it with brick instead of the wood that's there. And basically, the way the wording is, from my understanding, is that he would have to pull a new permit and he would have to move his wall back because he's technically on city easement. And I'm looking at the other houses here, and I know we'll run into this problem with other homes as we annex into other parts of the city. We're going to run into this problem. And what can be done for this particular case and other homes that are running into this situation with this new zoning that we're trying to pass that can help a homeowner like this without having to set back the entire wall. He's just trying to fix the one that a car went through and just make it a little bit stronger by replacing with brick.
Yeah, so that's a really good example of non-conforming conditions in the city. So in this particular case, that fencing was located in the city right of way. A portion of that roadway had not been improved yet. And historically, the pattern of development on that street is that there are several fences that are in the right of way. So if the commission would like to make a recommendation on incorporating, so our current ordinance has written it that we can allow replacement of the fence as long as we were able to identify that it was lawfully established, where it had a building permit, or we were able to see that it had a building permit, even if it was 20 years ago. That may not always be the case. So if that is something that the Planning Commission would like to recommend, that if there's a non-conforming condition, replacement or repair, we can take a look at that and evaluate. If there was a pattern of development that they can provide proof, and that's kind of also in our ordinance too, if they provide proof and evidence that the fencing and pattern of development existed, within 20 years or within the past 10 years, that we could allow a repair, but to allow a reinforcement, it could be a liability for the city if it's in the city right away. So we may want to allow for the repair of the fencing, maybe not necessarily the reinforcement of it to make it even like more like in this case, this was pilaster with vinyl fencing, but to make it all masonry block, to repair it with all masonry, there could be liability concerns. So in this case, we might recommend that they allow the replacement if we can also provide evidence that this condition existed previously in the city, maybe through photographs or historic photographs, but also it would be a good idea to include a provision if there was no permit on file for that property, that there would be some type of encroachment permit or some type of that holds the city harmless in the event that it gets disrepaired again. And that also, if the city needs to improve the right of way in the future, that they have the right, that the property owner is advising that they're aware that they need to allow the city to improve the right of way. And then at that time, the fencing would have to be pulled back to the property line.
Which will apply to all the homes, because all the homes have the same fence line out to the same area. Their mailbox is technically on the city as well, if the fence is technically on the city. So it's just odd that the postal service, all the mailboxes are there. And I noticed that the more we annex into the countryside of town, we're going to run into a lot of this problems, because this is prior to 1998. And I would like to make that condition to be able to somehow keep the same height of footage, not go any higher in the feet, just the same height as it is. But if he needs to repair it or make it a better wall or newer, I mean, the wall looks great on this one here, but he's able to do so. But with the understanding with the encroachable permit, the revocable encroach permit, that they may be forced to push it back if the city decides to widen that road. But I just think it's unfair. The fence was fine until a car went through it, and now he wants to fix it, make it better, and now he's running into all these issues for that situation. That's not fair to him. I mean, everybody else has the same situation. So that's my issue there with that. And a couple other things I noticed, there's a lot of things that for community events on the ordinance here, a lot of the community events, they mention it to be the community director or his or her apprentice, basically, and the chief of police. And I really think that a community director, if it's going to be a chief of police, it should be the community director, not another option, because, that's what his job is to be, is involved in the community. And if the chief of police is being involved in it, the community director should be involved in that and not just send somebody else out on his behalf or her behalf. So that's just my opinion on that. Not that I'm saying to change it, but I just think it's fair. The chief of police is being involved, so should the community director himself or herself. And that's about it. That's all I have on that.
Are you sure that's it? No more?
I think that's it for now.
John?
Yeah, I have a couple. I think to your example, I think it's it's one of those things where you drive down Stetson Avenue and you got some stuff that was improved with curb and gutter, some stuff that's not, and you can just imagine trying to ultimately improve that road to the ultimate right of way, which a lot of the community is going to want, but the individual property owners that are going to lose their front yard are not going to want. So I think that concept of where, especially where you have a situation of a damage to the fence, and then they want to replace it with something that's more sturdy and harder to get rid of in the future. That having some sort of an encroachment permit that clearly lays out the hold harmless for the city, if they were to come through and say, hey, there's a project, we are going to widen the street to ultimate right of way, we're going to add a lane for everyone's, and it's your responsibility to move this. I mean, that's going to be hard to implement, even though you have it in writing. People aren't going to like that, but at least it kind of addresses the short term.
They know it's coming if it is,
They still won't like it, but it'll at least be a legal foundation for the city to stand on if they need to improve that. A couple just clarification questions that I had, Monique, and thank you. First off, I want to really thank you and staff for all the work that you did on this. It made it so much easier to go through 157 pages than the last time, and really clarified what the intent of this amendment was. And I personally really appreciate that. Just for some clarity on the deemed approved status. So deemed approved applies to tobacco and alcohol stores only. So there's a whole list of things clarifying non-conforming and how we're going to deal with that, both approved and legal and non-legal or illegal non-conformed. But the deemed approved status is going to be applied to alcohol and tobacco, and that's it, correct? And it's going to be applied to all existing businesses, whether they're conditionally approved, permitted approved, or just been in place and then meet the requirements as laid out in this ordinance.
Yes, that's correct. And many of them may not meet the criteria that today, but as long as they are complying with our program rollout, that they meet the performance standards. If they had an ABC license that was issued 20 years ago, they would still be required to comply with today's criteria.
So I think that's a brilliant way of trying to address existing nuisances where we may not have path to do that. One concern is that we have the staff and the ability and the resources to do it. That's going to be a tremendous amount of work and effort. And I'm hoping that the city is taking that into account, and that the council and, will support, if this is ultimately adopted, putting in some resources to implement it. The one clarification question I did have is for new licenses that do not have a existing use, or it's just a brand new, they're still going through the CUP process, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then as soon as they get permitted and going, then they'll get automatically put into the deemed approved status, and they'll be subject to the requirements of the deemed approved.
So the way it's written, it's twofold. It gives, if there's a conditional use permit approved, they would then fall into another classification, which is in the conditional use permit provisions, that it's a suspension and revocation process. That would have to come back to the Planning Commission. If they didn't have a CUP, they have to go through the civil administrative hearing process, which
Gotcha.
is separate.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but yes, there is a provision that is already in place in our conditional use permit
Gotcha.
code.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Yeah, no, just once again, thank you for all the, I know it was a lot of work to put that together, but it certainly helped clear up the confusion from me from last time. So that's all I have.
Any other questions, commissioners?
No.
The public hearing was left open from the continuance. So are there members of the public that wanted to speak on this item? Are there any members of the public present online that would like to comment on this item, Ms. Hernandez, or did you receive any e-comments?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
With that, we'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Is there, in that motion, do I need to add anything to the language in reference to the fence? Or they can have a revocable encroachment permit, or what do I need to add into that to?
I can state
Okay.
my preference, Monique, but perhaps you have a different opinion on it. My preference would be if you can't direct staff as to specific language that should be added into a section, that you just convey the request to them at this meeting, and that it be continued so they can bring it back and you can make sure that it's correct. That way you're not providing general direction and it's not executed in the way that the commission intended. So that's my preference. I don't know if Monique has a different preference.
Well, do you have possibly some recommended language that we could incorporate into the motion now, so that we don't have to come back to address Commissioner Beasley's concern?
I don't have any recommended language to address the fence issue. I don't know if Monique has gotten an opportunity to take a look at that provision. We would have an opportunity, I think, to make sure that we provide language that's not only internally consistent, but also consistent with other parts of the ordinance.
What do you think, Monique?
Yes, so where the discussion is of fences and walls, it does have that's really referring to continuation of non-conforming setback. The code is written in a way that is very is general. It could cover a multitude of possibilities. Certainly, we could incorporate a provision that would allow for the replacement, repair of existing fencing or existing structures. It's still similar, and there is already language built in to this code that allows us to evaluate that it was lawfully established, the structure was lawfully established. But in the case where there's no building permit, we cannot confirm that it's lawfully established. So in that case, we could make a recommendation that you incorporate the replacement of fencing to include revocable encroachment permit. However, if that's not, if we're not comfortable tonight to do that, we certainly can continue this item and come back to the commission with a clean recommendation.
Well, I know the fence is broken. I mean, so eventually it needs to be fixed. And so how much time would that take if we bring it back?
Right.
I know you're busy. I know you have a
And-
lot on your plate, but I know this guy also wants to fix his fence too.
The commission can also look at what would be considered lawfully established or a historical record if there was not a building permit there, but we know that it's been there since, was it 1998 or a certain time frame? Would that be something the commission's interested in having us, allow that repair? However, that may create an issue with nonconformities in terms of the intent of trying to remediate nonconforming conditions in the city, because ultimately we want to ensure that they would have to pull back their fencing. But I think it's important for us to explore that possibility and make sure we have a mechanism in place, that we have a revocable encroachment permit process, because we may not have that in place. And today, kind of working with engineering, my take is that their revocable encroachment permits are temporary in nature, and we may need to prepare something for the commission's consideration to incorporate something that would be that would hold the city harmless if we allow repairs, because in the event that if there was another vehicular, if there was the damage to the existing fence again, there could be an issue there as to why maybe shouldn't be in that location. I'm not saying that that's the case here.
You're just exploring.
Yes,
Can I ask you directly, are you agreeing that you would like an extension to get that clarified, or you're comfortable with how it is now?
Yeah, I'm comfortable how it is now. However, the question was, could we also incorporate adding other additional language to allow replacement or repair
Oh,
of existing fencing that is non-conforming and never had a permit. But if we could determine that it was there for so many years.
and that's something you could do with this right now if we approve
if
this.
if that's what the commission wants to recommend, but that we would explore a revocable encroachment permit process for that, which that repair,
Uh-huh.
and that would be something that we can, it could be recommended to the council, and then they would have to make that determination if they're.
And, I want to add, I'm sorry, I just, that made me think of something. I just went through this with the county on a solar project where they wanted me to have the building permits on a garage that my dad built in 1974. And they wanted me to resubmit plans, and it's like, I don't have that. And it might be worthwhile looking at because everything that was written in here was that it's the homeowners or the individual's responsibility to provide proof that it was lawfully put in there. And so, yeah, if there's some other, if a permit wasn't pulled, or if they can't find the permit, or, who necessarily keeps copies of permits that were pulled from 40 years ago or 30 years ago? I think that's probably worth exploring a little bit in terms of what constitutes an approved non-conforming use. Is it only permits, or is it something that says you've been here for a really long time? And I'm not sure if that is covered, but everything that I read was really about the.
Yes, and then in this particular circumstance, I've seen in other cities. However, it's just more of the just making sure that we do have a mechanism in place to hold the city harmless. Should that fence be damaged in the future. and that we should have something crafted that's clean and enforceable.
Yeah, and you're basically trying to do two things. Number one is make sure that it's built appropriately and it's not a hazard. And then two, that you can ultimately affect the abatement of that non-conforming condition if needed at some point in the future. So
I know we have a lot of houses that are like that, going down Palm, going down Lion, and a lot of them were built before the 1998. And as the city grows, I know towards the county, towards Val Vista, as we annex, we're going to really run into a lot of those situations out there. And if a tree comes down on a windy day and takes out a fence, you know, it's the same situation that person's going to run into to try to fix that fence. And I think we just need to have that language for those that are kind of like grandfathered in a way, how they can, you know, they can continue to build at the exact same height without changing the height and the width of the wall, as long as it's exact same. What we talked about reencroachment permit as well. So if the city does ever widen the road, you know, they're aware of that and they know that that may come 10 years, 20 years down the road, but they're aware of it. So they know it's coming. Do we know that bike lane was coming down Lion or Palm? Do we ever know which that bike lane was going down? Cause I know if it goes down Lion, then that'll change everything for them.
Right. Yeah, we would need
I think
to
it's
look at-
Palm, but I'm not sure.
Well, so with that new information, was there other questions, Commissioner, or
My
Comments?
only question was like the cities that are around us, like, is there, like, they've obviously dealt with the same subject, like Temecula is in the same situation. Their plans were super. Like, I know that they had like an original plan and now they're constantly trying to fixing that onto it. Like, what are other cities? My question was like, what are other cities around us doing?
Oh, right. Yeah, so this ordinance is actually very compatible with other communities throughout Southern California. And what I've seen in other communities, that it depends on, it's on a case by case basis. It depends on the character of the community. So in another city that I had worked for, they would issue a revocable encroachment permit, which would allow some improvements in the right of way. However, they'd have to go through an actual document that has to be notarized. It's a legal document. It's recorded with the property. And it's basically advising them that in the event that the city would need to remove that for any reason, or public, health, safety, any reason, that was enforceable.
So, and that's from what I understand, that's the only thing that we would like need to add to this for that wall situation to be taken care of right now.
Yes.
Is there a way for us to like approve this tonight and then, so it's got to be in a continuation? Okay. That's all the questions I had. Thank you so much. This was amazing. Yeah, thank you.
That's my only issue. Little things like that you don't know about until you hear about it and then you go, well, wait a minute. That is not fair to that person. So that's just my opinion on that.
so instead of a motion, do I hear a motion for a continuance? And would that be till the next meeting? Or would it be longer than that?
Yes, we can certainly put together some language.
What is the date of the next meeting? Sorry. Already.
February.
February 7th.
Oh, okay. So that would be, yeah. So do I hear a recommendation for continuance?
yeah, I'll move to continue zoning ordinance amendment number 22-001 to February 7th to address the concerns discussed today.
A second.
Oh, there we go. That motion passes unanimous.
It hurts after that one.
Item 6B for tentative tract map 38309 and administrative adjustment 22-003.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Monique Alanis Blader, Principal Planner. Tentative track map 38309, the applicant is requesting an additional continuance. We've been working with the applicant diligently on the conditions of approval for the track map. Also as it pertains to the master development of Ramona Creek. We are also working with the Hemet Unified School District trying to address allocating a site within this specific plan. And so with that, we are recommending that this item be continued to the Planning Commission meeting of February 7th, 2023.
Not for the continue. Okay. Are there any members of the public present or online that would like to comment on this item or any e-comments received?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, we leave it open because it's continuance. Sorry. Did I open it? Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So do I hear a motion for continuance?
So moved? Or do I have to go through the whole thing? I move that we continue the item 6B, tentative tract map number 38309 and administrative adjustment AA 22-003 to the February 7th Planning Commission meeting pursuant to the applicant's request.
I'll second.
I like the so moved better.
And that motion passes unanimously. Department reports, City Attorney, Ms. Lauren Sanchez. Item 7B, Community Development Reports, Principal Planner Monique.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to introduce our new interim city manager or community development director, Kevin Manning. He's here this evening.
Nice to meet you.
We will have him here.
Well, welcome.
Looking forward to working with you.
Welcome.
Yes.
Excellent.
Well, it's
Welcome
really
back.
great to have you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Here, here. Well, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. Very happy to have you.
Also like to report that the city council did approve us that the mid-year budget to include a new staffing for economic development analyst. So we're excited about that for the city, and also to help with our department in community development planning division, an associate planner position.
Awesome.
For city update, that's a lot of city council updates. Good job.
That's what I have.
And,
Hard over
and a
there.
new
Happy.
and a new city manager, and it's just
Yes.
Item 7C, future agenda items.
Future agenda items, we do have quite a few projects awaiting to come through. We just want to overwhelm the commission with they're waiting in line. We do have Rally's Restaurant and Drive-Thru coming through, conditional use permit and zone change. We also have JD Fields development that's coming forward very soon. as well as a tentative track map for a new residential track map at 800 North Girard. So these are tentative items coming, future agenda items coming your way.
Item 7D, Planning Commissioner reports. Monique again. Well, you just call on us.
Commissioner Booth,
Nothing new to report.
Commissioner Hill,
McGill's Junior. I'm telling you, we need a McGill's Junior in this.
I have to
It's noted
agree.
in every
I-
single meeting.
They catered a event that my
Chick-fil-A.
sister had, and I was like, this is spectacular food.
It is.
And they have the good ice.
Is it that crushed? Like, yeah, my wife likes that same.
That's all. Thank you.
The real small, like
Make some phone
Coffee.
calls.
Okay.
Commissioner Worth,
nothing to report.
Vice Chair Beamsdorfer,
The only thing to report is we have a new city manager, so that's exciting. He used to live in Hemet, so hopefully he can make Hemet his heaven again. And a new community development director, so we're looking forward to working with him as well. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Chair Lemke,
Yeah, Happy New Year, and I'm excited for us going into 2023 with all of these great new changes. I did leave a chat for you guys to see what was going on at the chamber, so we can keep you busy in the community. And that's all I got. If there is nothing more, last chance. We will be adjourned until the February 7th, 2023 meeting at 6 p.m.
They're here.